How I Met Your Mother is a sitcom filled with all kinds of drama, minuscule to major. But one big fight that stayed a topic of conversation even all of these years later is the blow-up between Lily Aldrin and Ted Mosby.
Oh, fudge.
But I didn't say fudge.
It's not necessarily the most dramatic or consequential fight of the show, but it is surprisingly important. Taking a second look at their battle after some time allows us to see it in a new light, and gives us insight into the deeper, more important layer to their problem. And this also gives us some pretty useful pointers for our own lives too. So, what's the truth about Lily and Ted's big fight? Of course, it being a TV show, there's always going to be some kind of conflict because that's what pushes stories along. And Lily and Ted both have strong personalities, so it's not surprising that they often butt heads. Their relationship is also affected by the way in which it began. They're tied together by Marshall, who they both met in college, Ted being his roommate and Lily his girlfriend. They did end up becoming friends in their own right, but they were always individually more connected to Marshall. This also stems from the show being pretty steeped in the gender dynamics of its era, still questioning whether men and women can really be just friends, to what degree friendships were allowed to compete with or supersede romantic relationships, etc. And as sitcom characters, both Lily and Ted are fit into type, Ted being the stereotypical self-centered nice guy, Lily the dedicated wife and mother with a short fuse and a bad spending habit. Fights happen all of the time on sitcoms. They're usually between two people in a romantic relationship. To add a punch of humor,
it's my birthday, and you're telling me I'm not the one for you?
It's the odds. It's like you lost the lottery.
Oh, so dating you is like winning the lottery?
or pull in some drama.
This is so not great!
I'm sorry that I have to work while I'm here. It's called being on assignment.
But friendship fights are a different animal. In a world where we're told romantic relationships are meant to be the center of our lives, the source of all of our happiness and pain, we can often come to assume that our friendships are just static, that we don't need to put the same love and care into them.
This is Ted, the guy you left stranded by the side of the road. I just wanted to say good luck with the interview. Remember to pick up some milk. Oh, and when I get home, I'm going to kill you.
But that's not the case, and in fact, it's exactly this kind of thinking that often leads to major battles between friends. Lily and Ted had a number of fights over the course of the show, but their biggest arguably came in the Christmas episode in season 2. Having come to feel like she was lost in life and like she had given up all of her hopes and dreams, Lily decided to make some big changes in her life. This even included breaking up with Marshall and moving across the country.
Marshall, I'm sorry. I just need to go to San Francisco and do this art program and figure out who I am outside of us.
She had essentially put all of her own hopes and dreams on the back burner for years, and finally hit a wall. She felt she had become boxed into a very specific path in life, and that the only way to break free was to totally change up everything.
I know this sucks. It's just something I'm going through. I'm not asking you to be happy about it. I'm just asking you to support it.
This, of course, left Marshall distraught. He hadn't realized the degree to which she felt stifled and unhappy, and thought that they had wanted the same things, that is, for her to always be there to help him pursue his dream. This isn't the result of some evil on Marshall's part or anything. That idea just permeated society, and he never really questioned it. Especially since Lily never really directly or forcefully made clear how unhappy she was until she broke. Though this is likely a result of her not even fully realizing it until the final straw broke the camel's back. So where does Ted fit into all of this? As Marshall's longtime best friend, Ted unsurprisingly wanted to be there for his friend and try to help him through this tough time. But Ted historically isn't necessarily great with relationships of any kind. Ted quickly pivoted to the idea that the way to fix this situation was for Marshall to just get over Lily, to move on and start a new life. This isn't totally out of left field. Many friends try to push their own friends to start putting themselves out there and finding someone new after a bad breakup. But Ted might have taken things a little far. Lily actually did come back after a heart-to-heart with Barney, and while things didn't immediately go back to normal, she and Marshall did eventually realize that they did want to be together and got re-engaged. But during the time they were apart, Ted had been really pushing for Marshall to let Lily go and move on. And Lily finds some pretty harsh evidence of this when she comes across an old voicemail.
Are you lying on the couch right now moping about Lily? Well, stop it. She's not worth it. You gotta get over that Grinch.
But I didn't say Grinch.
The show never confirms what specifically he actually called her, but since characters say bitch and slut uncensored on the show plenty of times, it's generally assumed that he called her the C word. Lily is, unsurprisingly, not at all happy about this, and this is where the rift, both on the show and among fans, begins. Lily thinks Ted went over the line, but Ted feels like he was justified because he was just trying to support his friend. In fact, he refuses to apologize.
You apologized, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry were the first words out of my mouth. I'm sorry, but I'm not apologizing.
They have a first attempt at a conversation when Ted goes to Lily's apartment. They don't work things out, but a new layer to the conflict is revealed. Ted wasn't just upset that she hurt his best friend, but also that she hurt him by leaving.
Marshall's not the only one you walked out on. You leave for 3 months, you don't even call. Come on, Lily, we're supposed to be friends.
After another blow-up, things are finally resolved when Marshall reveals that he knew the perfect gift to get Lily for Christmas because Ted had remembered her saying she wanted an easy bake oven years ago.
When I was a kid, all I wanted was an easy bake oven.
Easy bake oven, that's what I'm gonna call my van.
They finally both come to realize how important they are to each other, apologize, and make up for real. While the big studio audience gasp part of their fight is that Ted called Lily a very bad word, the actual takeaway is how feeling unheard or forgotten about can lead to building resentment. And if the issue is never communicated, it can cause huge problems. This is what ended up causing Lily to feel like she had to pick up her life and leave. But it's also why she didn't even think about how it might affect her other friends. She just assumed she was second fiddle in everyone's life, and that her absence wouldn't even really matter to them. And while Ted is often very open about his feelings in his romantic relationships,
Look, obviously, you can't tell a woman you just met you love her. But it sucks that you can't.
he's not to the same degree in his friendships. In the end, they both learn how important it is to speak up about how you're feeling, but also about how much you care about those around you. You can't just assume your friends know how much you cherish them. You have to let them know.
Lily Aldrin is special. You hold on to that girl.
Ted, oh my god.
The fact that they have a whole ritual specifically around apologizing to each other,
You sure this is gonna work?
Yeah, this is our thing. In college, whenever I wanted to make up with her, I'd buy her a beer. Cute, right?
makes clear both how often they come head to head, but also how deep down they realize how important it is to be able to put their own egos aside for the sake of their friendship. Their tenacious natures can cause problems in their relationships, both romantic and platonic, but it's also what pushes them to keep trying. They could have just decided to give up on their friendship for good. Ed when she left, or Lily when she heard the voicemail, or either of them after any of their many spats, and just settled into being distant acquaintances tethered together only by their connection to Marshall. But they are real friends, and realized that they were willing to fight for their friendship, even if it meant having to admit that they were wrong. While Lily and Ted's personalities cause them to fight quite a lot, their differences are also actually important because they're able to see things from different perspectives, and importantly aren't afraid to confront each other.
Yeah, I am not a kindergartner.
Exactly. You know what that word means. You know that calling people names is mean and hurtful. Ass face.
They're able to open each other's eyes to perspectives that they wouldn't have on their own. And the fact that they're actually both a little over the top in a similar way means that they can understand each other's more intense reactions and choices in a way that the others around them can't always.
Think about how much we all mean to each other. So when I picture the future, I picture us all together.
As the loneliness epidemic continues to grow, and people feel more distant and alone, on top of all of the seemingly never-ceasing flood of stressors hounding us from all sides, building and maintaining strong friendships has never been more important. According to a 2024 survey by Harvard's Making Caring Common, people between 30 to 44 years of age were the loneliest group. 29% of people in this age range said that they were frequently or always lonely. Among 18 to 29-year-olds, the rate was 24%. And loneliness isn't just a bummer. It can have very real, long-term impacts. In his 2023 report on the topic, Surgeon General Dr. Vivek H. Murthy wrote, "Loneliness is far more than just a bad feeling. It harms both individual and societal health. It is associated with a greater risk of cardiovascular disease, dementia, stroke, depression, anxiety, and premature death. And the harmful consequences of a society that lacks social connection can be felt in our schools, workplaces, and civic organizations, where performance, productivity, and engagement are diminished. Community and caring for one another is the only way we'll be able to make it through the darkest days. And creating those kinds of connections does take a lot of upkeep. Real, lifelong friendship isn't about being perfect all of the time, or always getting along, but instead being able and willing to work through problems when they arise, and often being able to accept that you're both a little bit wrong and a little bit right. That isn't to say that every friendship has to be forever, or that moving on from a friendship is automatically a failure. Sometimes realizing that a friendship or friend group isn't working out for you anymore is just a part of life, and removing yourself from that negative situation can have a very positive impact on your life and happiness.
I have come to realize how exhausting and narcissistic and ultimately boring this whole dynamic is. And I finally feel brave enough to create some distance for myself.
But when you know that someone does add positively to your life, even if you don't always see eye to eye, it can be worth it to take a step back and see if you can find common ground. Because good friends are worth fighting with and for.
To everyone at this table, I love you guys so much I can't even...
That's the take. Click here to watch the video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.